So for this session, we're going to be focused on digital technologies, on AI, on revolutionizing the upstream sector. So we've got a great panel and kind of an esteemed set of folks to discuss this. I'm Abhi Rajendran. I head up oil downstream focused research at Energy Intelligence. My colleague Alex just moderated the previous panel. And with me, I'm delighted to have, I'll just go down the road, Girish Saligram from Weatherford, Emeka Emembolu from BP, Rakesh Jaggi from Schlumberger, and Michel Lutz from TotalEnergies. So we've got kind of a great set of folks to go through this topic and these questions. So maybe let's just kick it off because we've been reading and hearing a lot about AI, digital technologies, about all sorts of tools and opportunities, worldwide, right? Across all sorts of sectors, but certainly in the energy space as well. So maybe we can just kind of go down the road, down the row, and just talk about what are some of the specific technologies, specific tools that each of you see, impacting your business, impacting your customers that you're excited about in the energy space. Girish, maybe we can kick it off.
Great. First of all, Abhi, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. You're right. I think this is an incredibly exciting time for our industry as we really start to reap the benefits of the extreme amount of technology that is out there. Ours is a complex industry, and so it requires solutions that actually fit the bill. So, for us, there's a lot of things that we're doing internally inside the company, but that's very similar to most other corporations. What's more exciting is what we're able to offer customers, and it starts with the combination of physics-based models, bringing in software, state-of-the-art controller devices, and ultimately putting it into an ecosystem that can deliver. So we've got something called WASP, which means something a little bit different in this context, the Weatherford Automated Surveillance Platform. So that really allows us to bring IoT devices, the overall surveillance programs, and meld them with physics-based modeling for customers. We've got a very rich legacy in SCADA. We've got a system called Signet that's been a world leader for a long time, and again, enhancing the capabilities of that with the newest technologies that then eventually feeds Foresight, which is our production optimization platform. I'm also very excited about a company we recently acquired last year called Datagration, which allows us to now present a unified data model to customers, which really takes out the biggest issue with all of the platforms and the tools and the capabilities, which is data. Everyone's got tools, but how do you get the right data? And we've got a unified data model now that allows customers to take advantage of disparate systems, disparate data, and legacy systems in that. So very exciting times, and ultimately, I think one that will really create a springboard for the whole industry.
Great.
Yes. Yeah. So thanks very much for the question, Abhi. I'd say, so BP, we've been operating, we're a very old company. So we've been operating for over 110, 115 years now. And I'd say we've got a rich legacy of a lot of data, a lot of places we operate across the world, a lot of different businesses that we operate across the world. And one of the big challenges that we've had is how we actually pull a lot of that data together, how we gain insights from the different operations we've had over the different periods of time. And so we're building on and capitalizing on some great things we've done in the upstream, I would say, over the last 10 years. So we started working with a company called Palantir 10 years ago, and they helped us really pull together a lot of our real-time data in the upstream. We built a foundation of things. We were working with them on our operational data, facilities data, just all different kinds of data, daily reports, just disparate data types, but they helped us with an ontology to categorize a lot of this data. What we're getting to now, as some of the new technologies have come into play, artificial intelligence, and we've been using machine learning on a lot of this data for some while, we're actually seeing we're able to get different insights that we and engineers and technicians in our team never would have imagined we'd have been able to extract from this data. We're just able to draw inferences between different kinds of data and actually do this in real time, do this constantly all the time, always, as we get new data into these systems. So again, really exciting advances that we're able to do on the upstream side. The other area that we have been, I'd say as a company, we feel we have a very proud legacy on is around our subsurface. So subsurface has been at the core of what we have done in the upstream in BP for some time. And what we're in the process of doing right now is scaling up things like our high-performance computing centers to better take advantage of what we can do with seismic data. I know colleagues across the board are doing similar things, but bringing more compute, bringing more capacity to bear, and different techniques. Some proprietary to us, others that we partnered with other groups on, bringing those kind of techniques and systems to bear, are giving us different and new insights into the data we have, both to make the most out of existing fields that we operate and new fields that we're getting into. Great. So, yeah.
Abhi, thank you for hosting me and putting me in between two of my key customers. So I have to be careful about what I say. But look, for most of us who've been with the industry for a few decades, we are not new to leaps of innovation, if I can use that phrase. And I can add digital confidently to that list now. We've done wonderful things in this industry in terms of technology. And I think arguably the most interesting change that is happening in our industry presently is the digital transformation of our industry. I would accept that we've been a little slow off the block, but where we are presently, we are beginning to see visibly, and we can measure the value that digital is bringing. So I'm very optimistic about that we're just at the cusp from where on we expect the business to actually bring significant value. And this industry will also benefit from many of the trends that are happening in other industries. The fact that cash, cost, or carbon, the 3 Cs, which are the imperatives for all our customers, digital impacts each one of them positively, which is why there is no way but one direction in making this more successful. Now, I'll say that, whether we talk about cloud, or we talk about edge, or we talk about AI, each of these trends in itself is having a significant impact. But the real value, the transformative value will be had when we can bring all of them together, right? And do that at scale, which is what we as a company, SLB, is interested in doing. We've been in the software business for multiple number of decades and have a strong position in the subsurface. But what we are now interested is in taking this expertise to beyond subsurface and real value of what you do in real-time operations as well. And maybe I'll end by saying the position that we are in terms of the cycle in the industry, tight economics and the focus of reducing the carbon footprint by all customers means that digital is going to be a critical change that every customer will embrace, because this will bring us competitiveness and also probably transparency, which will give the required credibility to our industry as well as we go down our journey of sustainability as well.
Thank you. So before talking about AI, just let me express how happy I am to be here today, because India is a very important country for TotalEnergies. We have a lot of electricity business activity from energy production and distribution, but also in my field we have some good partnership with IT company here. So I'm very happy to be here, and also because it is a very special week for France. I come from France and India because, as you may know, we had an AI Action Summit in France, co-hosted with India, and so AI is really. I'm happy to have this connection between our two countries today. Yes, about the AI in TotalEnergies, it's true, as you mentioned, we are using AI for long years for subsurface and seismic activity, for instance. But now it's becoming really a core business activity for all the activities of the company. Now we put AI everywhere. So I will say, first of all, for the oil and gas activity, we are now using AI for production efficiency, for sustainability, for safety. Maybe we will deep dive on the use cases after. And then, because one of the parts of the strategy of TotalEnergies is also to become a multi-energy strategy, we are using also extensively AI to produce electricity and on the renewable business. And then, last but not least, especially today with the rise of generative AI, we also believe that AI is also a tool to empower every collaborator in the company. And that's also why we had a massive deployment of Microsoft Copilot. We have deployed more than 30,000 licenses, and so that everybody can take advantage of generative AI in their day-to-day job. About maybe the challenge, I agree with you. One of the very important topic, especially when you, for very technical application, is the at scale, how you build AI at scale. And for that, it's not only the question of model, of the scientific part of AI, but having some strong infrastructure, but also processes, how to run the model into production, how to maintain the model, because it's not usual software. The model can drift, and you have to put all the processes to take control over that. So that's an important topic.
Great. Many of you talked about some of the exciting aspects, some of the opportunities, but some of you touched on at least scale being one of the challenges. But looking more broadly, what are some of the things that you see as issues that either you've had to overcome or could be ahead besides scale, as this becomes a bigger and bigger piece of what you do for your own companies, but also for your clients. Maybe it's cybersecurity or other risks. How do you think about some of the challenges ahead for digitization, for technology? We can do the same thing to go down the road.
Sure. Yeah, look, challenges abound, and sometimes they can become a significant issue, but the fun is in how do you overcome it. But look, I think it starts, like I mentioned earlier, with data. Data is one of the biggest challenges because you need clarity of data. It's sort of the old adage in the digital world of garbage in, garbage out. And so having the right data structures, having the uniformity and the harmonization, that becomes a significant challenge. I think specifically on AI, it's still a function of maturity, getting the right LLMs, making sure you've got, limited to a minimal degree of false positives, etc. This concept of hallucination. But the other challenge, I think, is also about adoption and the human element in all of this, right? We tend to focus a lot on the artificial part of artificial intelligence, but human intelligence is a very big thing, and more importantly, human emotion in accepting, embracing, and being cognizant enough. And you still need a lot of intervention. So driving that transition, which is a transition in of itself, I think that's an important thing for organizations to consider, versus it always just being perceived as a threat of removing the human out of the equation, and that leads to a whole gamut of negative emotions. So I think managing through some of those, there's a lot of other things, but those are three that are kind of top of mind for me.
Yeah, three challenges that I would say come to mind for me. You mentioned one, so cybersecurity. When it comes to digital systems, cybersecurity is always needs to be a consideration and a challenge that we take on board. How do we manage? As in our company, we've moved 98% about 98% of our applications to the cloud. Most of our data sits on the cloud. Cybersecurity is very important to us. And we see things, the roles governments need to play in the area of cybersecurity. We talk a lot about partnerships and the companies that we work with, both vendors who work with us, but as well companies who we work with, we interact on a daily basis. We want to make sure together we build the most secure systems and the most secure environments, because if one of those companies or groups were to have an issue, that issue could easily spread to us. So it's in our interest really to make sure that as many companies as possible can be as cyber safe as they can be. And the third thing I would say for us in terms of managing that challenge of cybersecurity is providing education and using our staff, using our teams, because our teams in all of our companies are the main and primary line of defense or weakness in any cyber issue we might have. So cybersecurity is one. I agree with Girish around data is another. It's a challenge that we're working through as a company. Probably a third challenge, and I liked your point, I would say, which I agree with, is around adoption. And I've been thinking a lot about this issue of adoption and how to get past it in this digital age. And as I see a few major areas we're trying to attack that problem from. One is making sure that the things we're investing in, the digital tools we're building, are solving problems and addressing issues that our businesses really have, which should generate a bit of a pull. And as we're addressing those problems from a digital technology perspective, we need to make these systems easy to use. We need to make them as easy to use as people's iPhones are to use, which don't have instruction manuals. So the closer we can get to like real ease of use, I think the better the adoption. And we try not to link too many of these to make it a threat to people's actual roles, but more of an assistance to how they can do their jobs more easily.
So, Abhi, if you allow me, what I'll do, I'll give you the perspective of the customers as we see it, and I'll take each one of the points that Girish made, one that Emeka made, and give you a slightly different perspective on that. But, I agree with those comments, and then I'll give you the perspective of us as a company as well. So, the perspective of the customer. So, I agree 100% with Girish and Emeka, data. The only comment I'll add on top will say that 75% of the data is dark, which means not used. We are one of the most data-intensive industries in the world. Every well produces a terabyte of data, if not more, on an average. We are talking about huge amounts of data that is available, but not being used. So that's one comment I'll make. I think Emeka rightly points out cybersecurity, a massive issue presently. We all have to be careful about it. But I will also bring up what I call cybersecurity on the edge. As we go to edge AI, we also need to be careful that, when you are trying to do the small language models on the edge and things of that nature, you need to be careful about cybersecurity as well. And then add a new one from my side. I'll say, this is not a game that one company will win. It's not going to be that X company becomes successful and we are happy. Either the industry will transform fully or none of us will succeed and we will lose credibility as an industry. Now, this is new to us. So, as I learn more about the digital world, you have to collaborate. And there are companies which are, in our case, I can even say trillions of dollars worth. And then there are companies that could have a market cap of a few $100 million. And each one of them, for even a small component, they contribute to the digital solution finally, is equally important because they are all in a chain. If one of them doesn't work, the system falls down, as we've had many experiences, that we've seen. So I think this is something that our industry faces as a challenge. None of us have all the answers. Therefore, we all have to work on this together. We will transform as an industry and gain credibility only if a significant portion of us are on the same journey. So that's the one comment. Coming to the perspective from our own company's standpoint, right? So I'll say, we accept the fact that not everything has to be developed in-house. So we've created an ecosystem of about 30 odd companies now that are partners that all contribute to, and they have complementary skills. And we sit on a table together when we are speaking to a customer, be it, BP or Total or any other company. And sometimes we'll walk away because there are, some of our partners who will be able to solve the problem without us being involved. And we have to accept this. So, we are trying to take that collaboration journey and trying to demonstrate that we are very open. We will never give you a platform that you only host SLB applications. Even our competitors' applications are now available on our platform. So that's one angle that I would like to add. And, the second one from our perspective is investment, right? I think you can never have enough of that. We need to make sure that we continue to invest. We have invested a significant amount over the last decade, thankfully. We have become from a software company to now a cloud operations company. And I think we are well down our journey and feel very confident about that we'll be able to bring more value. And last, I'll say, we are thankful to Michel and Total. We signed an agreement with them last summer. And we are hoping that, Emeka will also give us an opportunity. But we are well down a discussion with BP as well and many other customers. So we are working in, co-development of solutions with our customers as well. As both Emeka and Michel have pointed out, they have significant amount of in-house expertise that, we would love to bring to bear on products that we are creating because, that expertise will also bring value to our industry. And I would like to say, since we are sitting in India, this country has a phenomenal number of, amount of talent available. So we have a center like many others. We have more than 5,000 employees here now who are not just creating solutions for the country, but we take those solutions globally with significant impact as well. So, those are some of the perspectives, some challenges that we are facing as well, but some things that we are trying to do to address those challenges as well.
Michel.
Yes, I agree. Partnership is something very important. So we're happy to have this partnership with you. We also have some partnership with other cloud provider. More than 60% of TotalEnergies information system is moving to the cloud. Of course, with super high cybersecurity standard. I agree with it is fully non-negotiable. But I also would like to elaborate on the data part. I agree, data is a key. You cannot do good AI if you do not master your data. And we have a richness of data in TotalEnergies. We have more than 50 petabytes of subsurface data, billions of sensors worldwide coming from EP refining activities. And it's growing with our renewable activities. So we are a bunch of sensor data. I mean, something around 10 millions of customer data. So we were very rich in terms of data. But it's true that historically, everybody wanted to put money on AI, but nobody wanted to put money on data. But now what I see is that the more mature organizations are really changing their mindset on that. And even now at TotalEnergies, the top manager, they know we have to invest on data. They know that data quality, data management are important topics. And we have now, of course, we still have some very interesting investment on pure AI project, but we invest more and more on data projects. And we have a lot of initiatives to build what we call data products, which are data ready to be used. We put some specific SLA about the data quality, and we make sure they are ready to use to be consumed by AI application or end user application. So this is a big trend, more effort on the data and not only on AI. And maybe a last challenge, which is not technical, but which is super important, is the change management. Because when you make a good AI system, it can really transform the business process. And you cannot just see digital or AI as something parallel to the business. And you really, it's to me, the way to see AI is a kind of business process re-engineering, and you really have to think about how to, re-engineer all the business process using AI, and not seeing that as something next to the business process. This is very important and quite difficult to do.
Great. Some of you have sort of alluded to, there's opportunities for investment and but also that this is a journey that really the whole industry is going to be taking, right? It's already on, and sort of this transformation, there's this kind of no coming back from it. But when you have a transformation of this scale, it requires a significant amount of investment, significant amount of cost, and investors, of course, are very mindful of that, and are always, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, are much more mindful about returns, about how that investment translates into cash flow, and and then returns back to them. So how do you, and again, it's a question for each of you. How do you think things stand right now in terms of how this transformation is already kind of bearing dividends? Is it lowering break evens of production for oil, gas, and other products? Is it is it already translating to operational efficiencies, even though it's it's also adding to cost? How do you think about that? Are we already at that point, or is that kind of on the precipice? Where are we on the journey on that? Girish?
Yeah, it's a great question, Abhi, and unfortunately, our industry, especially our subsector, isn't one where an announcement of massive investment in technology is going to take your stock price up, because investors are still a little bit more focused on the returns that come from that versus just a big announcement of we're going to spend and potentially never make money. But look, for me, it's I think about it in its 3 dimensions. The first one is what we are actually able to get from within the company on productivity. So, we see a massive benefit of broad-based technology improvements, driving process automation, process simplification, just removing a lot of steps, and ultimately it's simplifying the structure. And it's not just about taking cost out, but it's also about keeping costs flat when you can scale up. So creating a scalable infrastructure. So that's a huge element that allows us to then further that investment, but we're able to pay for it from the productivity that we get. The second is productivity that we get in our customer offerings and operations. So huge amount of benefit that we've been able to get from leveraging technology, driving more automation, driving AI into customer operations, into our field programs. And so this reduces the number of crew sizes that we've got, reduces the number of personnel on board on a rig. It's got a massive impact on that, which again then allows us to give our customers a little bit more benefit from a cost standpoint, but then take some of that again, parcel it back into the investment. The third one from a return standpoint is, I think to Rakesh's point earlier, it's been a bit of an evolution. We've been a little bit behind than say a consumer facing industry. but it's this notion of monetization and returns, right? Because ultimately that is where the big dollars lie, and I've got to take some lessons from Rakesh on how to get more partnerships signed up that I can talk about here. So Emeka, I'll work on you as well, and Rakesh and I can get in a bit of a race. But ultimately, it's about then that value proposition of what is it that you have, what is the value that you're delivering that a customer is actually willing to sign a check, right? Because that is the ultimate proof in the pudding. Is you've got something that generates value for a customer, that gives them direct benefit, that they're willing to share some of that that value with you. So to me, those are the three key things that we've got to work on. And so, everything is a trade-off when it comes to investment, and the real truth is always going to be cash flow and return. So we're very mindful of that, but this helps us to create more of an impetus into funding some of those investments.
Good. So yeah, I'm going to just actually frame this question in the context of value that I would say BP and India together, I think, are getting out of technology. Because being here in India, we can talk about India Energy Week, and while we're here, and some of the things I think we've done that I can point to. So earlier this week, we had a big announcement about BP partnering with ONGC to help make the most out of the Mumbai High field here in India. For any folks in the audience who know this field, I'm a reservoir engineer by background, and this is one of the most legendary fields in the world. I was saying to Girish, and actually, so the opportunity for us, BP, to come in to help the country maximize energy out of this field is really, it's important for us. But the only way we're going to be able to do that is by working with ONGC to apply different forms of technology, digital and other, to the field to help. This is what we have committed to the country will do, and this is what we're going to come in to do. So it's a big opportunity, but actually, to your question about how it translates to value, that's a direct translation of value that we, BP, can take back to our shareholders, and I think ONGC has taken back to the government of India to show how different technologies, different techniques will open up value. A second part of that I'll say is, a second example I'll give is, actually yesterday I met with, we've had a long-standing partnership with Reliance here in India, and Reliance is a very, very technologically focused company, as many people know, very, very digital. We have a joint venture with them on GeoBP, and the work that team are doing, I shared with some of the folks in the audience my team who are in the audience, is phenomenal. And GeoBP is a very digital-first company in terms of how they operate their retail sites, how they work as a team, and how they manage to get data and value out of the team. And as we were having some of the conversations yesterday, I asked the team which of the digital investments we had made would they say were the highest value, and they basically said they couldn't actually pick because they wouldn't distinguish between the digital investments and how the businesses are run. And I think that's when you're really getting the value out of digital systems, which I think, as Michel was saying, where your digital systems and the processes and the people are basically seamlessly integrated in one way. So that's, again, something that we've managed to do with Reliance. The last thing I'll say is BP, we're building big technical capability here in India across the board in pretty much every one of our functions. And to leverage and to get the most out of that technical capability that we're building here in India, which is extremely technologically savvy, we actually need to have the right tools and systems to allow the people who we have here to plug seamlessly into our businesses to impact the businesses in the greatest way across the company. And, again, I was speaking to some people in the team. This is how we're going to make the most out of the capability that we're building in India to impact the company. And we see that happening. I was in Pune with our team on Monday, and just the examples of the things the teams are working on, from fundamental applications through AI, through data management, across the board, is world-class and having a big impact on our company right now. So I'd say for BP, we actually feel pretty comfortable with the investments that we're making and feel like we can draw a pretty clear link between that with the partnerships we're building and direct value to the bottom line of the company.
So, I'll give you a couple of ways that digital is already bringing value and will actually only enhance the value that we bring to the industry. So the first thing I'll say, Abhi, would be cycle time. So we are reducing the cycle time of whatever you do in terms of planning significantly. we say presently that the time that it used to take us from the time you shoot the seismic to the time you could drill a well was 18 months. We can now do it in 18 days. So that's the kind of reduction. We're talking about an order of magnitude improvement. So that's the first benefit we are getting from the digital. And whether you plan a well or you're coming up with an FD plan for a field, all of these, the cycle time is getting reduced significantly. The second comment that I'll make is you are reducing the risk band significantly. Because of the compute power available, you can now run hundreds of models. Now they say, no model is accurate, but some models are useful. But the fact that you have hundreds of models, actually, you reduce your risk band significantly compared to what you were doing before. You were not in a position, because the compute power is limited, you were not in a position to be able to look at all the scenarios that you had. And now you can. And therefore, that is the second big value that we are seeing. And for an industry of our magnitude, the size that we have, the risks that you take run into hundreds of millions of dollars, sometimes into billions of dollars. So reducing that risk band actually optimizes the cost very, very significantly. So that is the second key change we are making. The third, and the one that I'm most excited about personally, is the autonomous operations possibility that we now have. So just like everybody's talking about autonomous cars, you drive without a driver, we are in a position, and we already do, we have a project where we've already done this. You can actually have a well completely operating autonomously on some of the workflows, right? So we have a pad in a Latin American country where we manage 270 wells with our partner, which has not been visited by humans since the 23rd of October, 2023. So almost 15 months into it. We are able to adjust the ESP frequency. We are able to, change the chemical injection required on a regular basis. We are able to optimize the water flooding that we are doing. All of these things are done without human intervention. So, as the younger generation is looking for flex work, we want to work at least a day or two from home, and then we've been sending people to 28 days offshore. That is going to be very difficult to attract the right kind of talent to our industry. So autonomous operations is another key thing that we are going to do, which will bring significant value to our industry. And I repeat what I said in the first comment, that the 3 C's, cash, cost, and carbon, all of those are imperatives for our customer, and each one of those, the digital technologies brings value.
Michel.
Yes, I see that time is running, so I will make a simple answer to that. Maybe through the scope of an entity of TotalEnergies, which is the Digital Factory. So this is an entity we've set up 4 years ago. So we have set up a building with 300 developers to build digital solution for the TotalEnergies businesses. So that gives you a sense of size of the investment. And then we are completely value-driven. Of course, we have objective of safety and sustainability, which have no price, of course. But all the other projects are completely value-driven. And we have an objective to generate $1.5 billion of revenue through these digital activities per year by the end of 2025. So we have had a 4 years ramp-up phase, and now we are on our way to reach this target. So that's, yeah. And it's every project so the value is assessed, and this is reported to the executive committee of TotalEnergies.
Great. A couple of you, we still got a little bit of time to continue the conversation, but a couple of you had touched on, Rakesh, you mentioned carbon and sustainability. Of course, AI, managing data, it requires a lot of energy, a lot of electricity. So how do you think about, kind of all the needs and the growth and the continued, investment that each of you is going to have to make, and the industry collectively is going to have to make, but also, managing the sustainability of the power and the energy needs of managing that data. How do you kind of counterbalance that? So maybe just really quickly, again, going down the row, are renewables in a place to step in? How do you kind of manage it, maybe within your own portfolio, again, with partners on the power supply side? How do you think about that in the context of just data technology?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's really a very holistic view to look at it, right? You can't look at it just in terms of the increase in power consumption from a data and compute standpoint. That is clearly there, but there's a lot of tremendous offset. So I think looking at it holistically and saying, what is the total profile, because as we have talked about on the previous point, a lot of the benefits that you get are a tremendous amount of reduction in your carbon footprint, a tremendous amount of improvement in your operational efficiency, driving better sustainability. So in totality, it's a net benefit. And that's really the way we try to think about it. And now, wherever possible, we try to inject more and more capability, more greener source of energy, more renewables, etc., into our operating facilities and locations. But look, ultimately, it's a all of the above kind of an equation that we try to look at, and that's really what we try to drive the balance on.
I think I'll touch really quickly on two things. So one, I would say, as we, a lot of these AI applications sit on the cloud. And one of the things that we monitor as a company very carefully is actually our cloud usage. We're 98% on the cloud. We've been monitoring it. So we actually, a good proxy for our energy utilization is our cloud costs. And we have a really core program to actually help manage that down over time and work with some of the hyperscalers on how we're using the right kinds of energy to get, again, those cloud costs down over time. But also within BP, we have, again, recognizing the increased power utilization. So we have two other things that we've been looking at, which is how we as a company might provide energy to some of these cloud companies, including cleaner forms of energy over time, but also how we provide different cooling solutions to these companies. So our Castrol team have worked on a lubricant cooling system that allows us to provide liquid cooling to CPUs and GPUs, and that's a way that many of the hyperscalers, including ourselves in our own HPCs, can look at how we manage our costs down and manage our power usage down through different means of technology.
So from our side, right, like many other companies, we are developing what we call transition technologies, where we are giving you the same service as we did before, but the carbon footprint is lower. The second thing, I'll go back to the cycle time reduction, the risk band reduction, or the autonomous operations, all help you reduce your carbon footprint significantly. This pad that I was talking about in Latin America, our carbon footprint reduced by 57% since we've implemented that. And I will take this opportunity to advertise and share with this august audience a product that we've come up with. We can all use this. So SLB has come up with the sustainability platform, which can help our customers or any other company outside of the oil industry also, especially in the hard to abate sectors, do the MRV, measure, report, and validate your emissions. And then more importantly, also plan and act. So we can come up with the different solutions that exist, help you plan your decarbonization journey, and also act. We have some technologies that can help you reduce your carbon footprint in terms of projects of CCS or geothermal, where we have expertise that we can bring. So if you are still looking for the sustainability platform to use, please see me. We are interested in making sure that we publicize and speak about our platform, and you'll hear more about it. It's going to be commercially available here in the next few days.
On my side, I think that currently it's 2% of the worldwide energy consumption come from data center, and we expect at TotalEnergies to reach 4 to 6% in 2030. And of course, as BP, we are working with the tech companies, so we have several actions. We are selling PPA for green energy to the tech companies. We are also working on special molecules for liquid cooling. And also we are working with some tech company to replace their emergency generator with a low carbon fuel, or also by replacing them by batteries, because we are also a battery producer, so it's also a way to reduce the CO2 emission of these activities.
Great. I think we are just about out of time, so we've had a super interesting discussion and learned a lot, but please joining me in thanking the panel here.